Hello, I'm Marvin Guniel and welcome to An Optimist Adventures. Let's start with three basic questions. Where am I? What am I doing there? And what is this channel for? So, the answer to the first question is basically just that I'm now in England. I've been living in Germany for my whole life, 19 years. And now, soon I'm turning 20 in England. I'm living in Kingston upon Hull, which is a city in the north of England, to be precise, in the northeast, and it's been lovely here. I think I'm going to become a big fan of Yorkshire, but that's the basic. So what am I doing here? I'm spending a diaconal year abroad with the Evangelische Freiwilligendienste and the organization Time for God here in England. This is basically a voluntary service for 11 months, and I'll be serving at a placement that those organizations found me, which is the Hull URC Team Churches, a bond of 4 churches in Hull and its proximity, and I'm going to do all sorts of work for them, mainly social work, but also worship and social media. This brings us to the third and final question, which is, what is this channel for? I think that's a very good question, because I've been asking myself that. I've been meaning to start this channel about a week after I arrived. Well, now it's only 2 weeks after I arrived, but that's okay. This channel is basically meant to be for the friends I left at home, for you guys, basically, which also might mean the people I'll meet in Hull, or somebody who strangely stumbled upon this channel. You're all welcome, and I'm going to show you what I've been up to in the last few days, maybe weeks. Let's see, I'm planning on releasing these about weekly to bi-weekly. Is that okay? I presume so. I've been in England for about 17 days now, and I've gathered quite a lot of footage, so let's review that, and I can tell you what I've been up to in my first very exciting days. Alright then, the first pieces of footage I have are from the Freedom Festival, which was on the Sunday after we arrived. And it was very exciting to go there because it is right in the city center, and it is also a festival that is being held for the abolition of slavery, which is pretty amazing that it's being celebrated here in Hull, because Hull is in parts the birthplace of the idea to just freaking abolish slavery. There was live music out on the streets and people were dang happy, so it was exciting to have this as a sort of first experience to what Hull is going to be like in the next couple of months. I went there with my fellow volunteers, Kees, Carter and Natasha, who are also working and living together with me, and so it was also a very nice time to get to know each other and to experience Hull, I think, from its best side. It was a beautiful day and all the streets looked so magical, like things in England are supposed to look, because, you know, Harry Potter takes place in England. The first thing we steered towards was the Hull Minster, which is basically a big cathedral, and there is something great happening right now, because there's a big moon hanging around. I'm actually not sure if that's still happening, but it was an amazing sight. It is, I think, 7 meters in diameter, and you can see it here. It's just a beautiful idea, and I really had to snap a photo with it. Basically, they printed out the NASA footage of the moon and just hung it up as a giant ball in a church. I really like that idea, because we people are admiring the moon always from afar, and now it's suddenly close to us, and it still has its certain magic, I'd say. Ooh, magic already mentioned twice in the city. That's a good count. So we had a great time there, because we could also see all the people who held up the moon with their hands like they're holding up the Tower of Pisa, but we didn't do that, so we're not that touristy, we live here. And then we heard very loudly blasting live music from like a little courtyard, and it was pretty amazing because all those people were stuffed in there, and it was a big freedom stage full with Daft Punk music. I mean, normally that isn't something I would listen to aside from the band Daft Punk, but this really was Daft Punk music, just pure repetition. But I mean, with a big crowd and with nice people accompanying you, it can be a lot of fun. And it was. And finally, we went down to one of Hull's biggest sites, which is the Deep, just a beautiful building, architectural amazement purely, basically. And it's right at the Humber. That's why we went there, not to go inside. Yet, at least it's an aquarium, but we had lots of good laughs there because we got to know each other and we got the hang of each other's humors. And then of course we admired the view on the water and what was going on. On the Tuesday after, we went on a day out to Scarborough, which is a little further up to the north and right at the seaside. The day out was organized by the church and was sort of a get to know each other event, which was awesome because that worked. Of course, you have a lot to talk about when you look at such beautiful castle ruins and at the landscape, and of course also the freaking beautiful sea. Then I had my first fish and chips in England, which I should mention here because they are fish and chips. Scarborough is a really touristy place, which of course was not a problem because we were there as tourists and just wanted to have fun. It has a lot of very cute streets, and the castle also has some very neat features. For example, there is a well that is incredibly deep. We tested it out with a coin, let it fall down, and I don't know, it took quite a while. I'd say I felt a minute, but yeah, it really must have been deep. And what is great is, even though it was a ruin, you could still climb it and get the nice view all the knights must have had back in the days. A few days later, I took part in the Hull Heritage Days, which was great because Hull has a rich history. What is good to know there is that, not unlike my home city Bremen, Hull is kind of a seafarer city. So there was a lot of fishing going on back in the days, and it was also filled with rich merchants' families. I got to visit the family home of the Blades, which was supposedly the richest merchant family in Hull, at least in the 17th century. And it was a great time because all rooms are literally filled with ornaments and with paintings and everything that a nice mansion of the olden days should have. And I got really fascinated to hear of the basis on which this city was built. And it was even more impressive because I was there in quite a large group with a lot of Hollandians around me. Also, as a part of the Heritage Days, I went to a very old church. I actually don't know the name of that anymore. I don't remember it, can't recall that. That's okay. I do, however, remember the greatest bits. The greatest bit actually was that the master of the house / the church talked to me and introduced me to the place. It's now, I think, a senior residency, but he is the 39th master of the church and the house. What this basically meant was that his predecessors were buried right under us, and that he is in a line of very many very important people who got to keep this beautiful place alive. So that should about cover all the big events I had in my first week in Hull. But what's probably good to tell you in this first video is that I've been having great 2 first weeks of my voluntary service. In the house we get along very well, and this is my home now. And everybody from the 4 different congregations has been so warmly welcoming. Everybody understands that we still have to settle in here, and everybody also seems to be excited what we are going to be doing here in the next weeks. We will get the opportunity, for example, to design a whole new youth service and to also redesign the youth club. So I'm really looking forward to my work with the Hull URC team churches and also to my whole voluntary year, because this is what I wanted and this is what I still want. A year for social interaction, for helping, but also for personal development and for making friends, for living in a different place and getting to know the customs of a different culture. In the next year, I'll be in service every Sunday. And from what I know already, I think the services will give me very good input for my faith journey. Since service here is a little different and since they sing different songs, there is definitely going to be a lot to think about. And I'm really looking forward to that. And with all of this being said, I'd like to end my first video because I still want to have something to tell you in the next videos, and there will be a lot to come. So, have a nice week and maybe adventure a little.